Hi, so I'm going to show you some fun ways to use files or sandpaper, however you want to use. I just use these handheld files, or you could use like sanding blocks. I just like to use these because they're a little bit more controlled, and I'll just move that up so you can see it a little better. I'm not sure if you can see that. And I just got these on Temu. They're just really cheap files, but they're great for like sanding like corners. They do come in like a pack. I'll show you. You can get all different kinds. They're all different, and then you can get like around curves and corners a little easier than a sanding block. So these were a couple dollars on Temu. I want to say, I don't know, maybe $3 or so, and you get a whole bunch. They're just great to create more like a farmhouse style look. And then I'm also going to show you how to use like these little daubers to add paint, so that way you don't have to paint a whole area with a brush. So this is a little faster way. So I'm just going to go ahead and take these off, and I'll show you. I just painted these with red, and then I dabbed some black on here, so it creates just a nice like three-dimensional look. I'm just gonna wipe off some of the sand from where I sanded. I just used some black. I just dabbed some of the art crayon, and then what I did was I just put it on one of these daubers, and then I just kind of blended it on there. So that's just to create like a darker kind of like a background area, so it makes it look more 3D. So I'm just gonna grab a little tiny bit of paint, not very much, just very, very little. A little goes a long way with these daubers. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just kind of show you. You just dab it on here, and then it gets the edges really well. If you look, if you see how it gets those black edges, and then you don't have to worry about using a brush. So I'm just going to go through and just dab it on there. I just went ahead and started. And then I do use a brush for like those intricate areas. But if for like large surface areas, these are great. And especially when you get those edges. So if you have a very large area to work with, this works really well. I'm just going to grab a little bit more paint, and I'm just going to dab that on. I'm just going to make sure I don't get it in my red. And then I'm going to use a brush to get closer to where the colors meet up. And they're great for also like blending areas. But these are fun. And these are also just from Temu. And I can show you the back. I didn't use my standoffs on these because I was going to paint the back anyways. So I'm not going to use those for that. I'm just going to paint it. So I'm going to put this down. It makes it a little easier. And I can show you. There's my brush for those little intricate areas. So I'm just going to go ahead and tap that. And you can see it holds a lot of paint, so a little goes a long way. Grab a little bit more paint. I'm just going to move my other stuff out of the way here. I just don't want to grab too much paint, because the first time I put it on, I put way too much paint on. And I'm going to be painting the backs of these. So, because they're going to be double-sided, just for my own purposes. I just want to do them double-sided. You don't have to do these double-sided if you don't want to. I just think they look nice double-sided. And it just gets a nice amount of paint on here. And if you don't want to do them double-sided, use your standoffs. And then you can see, you can really get those sides really well. Try not to get any of the green on my red spot here. Try to get some more paint. And I'm going to use a brush to get those other spots that I can't reach with it. Oops. I set that right down in some crusty spots. There's some dried paint on there. I got to get some clean paper towel here All right. I am gonna do some sanding. I'm gonna show you that sanding technique. Got some goopers from my paper towel in here. Just gonna wipe that off. There we go. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my brush, dip it in the green, and then I'm just going to paint those areas that I can't reach with that. It doesn't have to be perfect because you're going to do the layer over the top. Okay. All right. I'm just going to go through. I like to have like all the edges. When I have these 3D ones, I like to get the edges really well. So I'm just gonna show you how I'm getting those inside pieces with my brush. I'm gonna be very careful at these two. I don't get it on there where the red part is, because it's a little close together. I'm just gonna have those inner areas that I couldn't reach. Just want to make sure that I get all of those areas, because I don't like to have the black showing on these. Just gonna go through and hit that right there. And it doesn't matter, I think, for the back layer, because it's kind of already almost black with the red part. So I'm gonna leave that alone. Do the same thing over here. Making sure not to touch the red spot. There we are. My red paint there. I don't want to touch that. I'll have to touch that up if I hit that there. Okay. All right. And I have my heater on because it is quite cold out here. It is, I think, it's single digits right now, and I am outside in my garage, but I have the heater on, and I turn my big heater off because it's very, very loud, and I'm losing heat quickly, so I'm going to try to work through this quite quickly so you can see. There we are. I'm going to let that dry, and then what I'm going to do is over here. I'm going to show you how to use the files, and these are great, like I said, for sanding. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take it on an angle, and I'm going to just move this so I don't get any of the sanding pieces on here. I'm just going to go through, and I'm just going to rub this right along the edges, and this goes pretty fast, and you can see how fast that goes, and you can kind of even go in different directions. You can go back and forth. You can get those edges. You can get the front if you want. You can scuff up the paint. It's however you want to do it. And I just like how it gives like that nice farmhouse look. And then it doesn't have to use, you don't have to use those giant blocks. I feel like with the blocks, you can't get those inside pieces like you can with this. And you can see how I can get those inside pieces. You can really get some nice detail. There we are. I'm just gonna really scuff it up because I want this to look kind of distressed. This is just another way to distress your projects. It just kind of looks a little different. It's really up to you. I mean, not everybody goes for this, but I see a lot of people doing the sanding technique with sandpaper. But I just think it looks really, really cool. So if you want to try using some files These are really fun. And when you get to the point where you're happy, you can stop. I think I'm pretty happy there. All right. So I'm just gonna set that right on top. And I have to finish painting the bottom part of that. And then I already went ahead and finished this one. Make sure I line this up. There we go. And there's my finished flower. I'll move this up close. And then I just have to finish painting the green. But I really like how that came out. That looks really nice. It gives some nice dimension. So if you don't want to paint it different shades of red, you can just do the same shade and then just go ahead and sand those edges. You can also do some dry brushing, gives kind of that same look, but I like just something different. Wanted to try some different techniques. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna finish up these. This is one that I already did over here. And I can go ahead and do a little bit of the same technique on the leaves. So there's that. I'm gonna try a different one this time. A whole bunch. I think I'll try this big one just to see how this looks. Just to try something different. This one has like more of an angle. And there we are. I'll just go on an angle here. There we go. And this is all done with chalk paint. And you can use the chalk paint from the craft store. Nothing exciting, just, you know, reds and greens. It's kind of like a sage green. And just kind of scuff it up. It just kind of gives more of a farmhouse look. Do it to the edge here on the side. There we are. And just your wood will start to show through. There. And you can do that to both sides. I'll put this back on. There we go. And then you're going to do the same thing to your smaller piece, and then this just slides right in there for your other piece. So then it stands up. So there we go. And those just slide right in and out. So as long as you measure your wood, your pieces, these will slide right in and out. If you notice that these don't slide in, it means your wood's too thick or it's too thin. So they should slide in as long as you measured your materials. They should have no problem sliding in and out. As you can see, they go right in. This is just done with MDF. I noticed that like maple and some of the other woods sometimes do not measure a true 1/8. So make sure that you measure your materials when you're doing these types of files, because the slot is pre-measured. If for some reason this doesn't fit, you can always go back and change it in the file to fit your material. It's just impossible for me to make this in every single like 1/10 of a millimeter, because I'd be making at least probably 25 to 30 files with all variations off by another millimeter, another millimeter, another millimeter. So I make it in a standard 1/8. I make it a little extra wider than it needs to be to accommodate different types of materials. The slot is 0.132 inches. That accommodates for the paint. Standard 1/8 is 0.125. So 132 is way wide enough that you'll be able to put enough paint on here and just slide in and out, no problem. If you're noticing that this doesn't slide in and out nice and easy, then your materials are way too thick, because these slots are really wide. So And then if you're using materials that are really thin, then they'll be kind of wobbly too. MDF tends to be around 0.11 to maybe around 125. So you can put quite a lot of paint on these. They'll allow a lot because there's a lot of wiggle room. So so that way you can add some paint. MDF is meant to be painted. So that's why I like to make it a little bit wider too, because you can add a couple coats of paint, especially you want to do the front and the back. Especially any paint gets down in there, and you put paint here. There's plenty of extra wiggle room for that. All right, so that's all there is for this file, and I hope you like the 3D roses. And I have quite a lot of new files that I'm going to be painting, and I'm hoping to try to get through them quickly because it is quite cold out here. All right, well, thanks for joining me. Bye.